Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Let's Max Warframe, where today we're taking a weapon request from Twitter made by Radioactive Gaming, and taking a look at a weapon released a little while ago now, the Tenno Nunchucks, the Ninkondi. Now I know it's been a while since these actually came out, and it was brought to my attention that actually I've not done a video on these, and there's a reason for that which I'm going to talk about a little bit later in the video. But for now, let's get back to talking about these Ninkondi. So what did everyone get so hyped over with these things? Well, the base damage of 45 pure electric. It's not the most damaging addition to the melee category, however with it being pure electric, it fuses fantastically into some really nice elemental combos, radiation, corrosive and even magnetic. But that's only part of what people are hyped for. The other standout stat is the fantastic 35% status chance, making this the highest status melee in the game, and the only one that can reach 100% without channeling. So bearing in mind that this is a pure electric weapon with no impact, puncture or slash, plus the ability to get that 100% status, this thing can absolutely pump out the status procs and be super focused as to what it procs and what it's there to dish out, without having to worry about getting those unwanted procs such as impact or puncture. Now in terms of the rest of the weapon stats, it comes with 10% crit chance, 200% multiplier, which is sadly not quite good enough for Berserker, but with a 1.0 attack speed, it's not like it's slow once you slap the Fury mod onto the weapon anyway. In addition to that, as you can well imagine, the range of these things is really short, meaning that you've got to be right up in their face before you manage to hit someone. Now the Ninkondi only comes with a choice of a single stance mod, Atlantis Vulcan, which considering the difficulty of the last few stance mods to have come out, it was a really painless farm, and I managed to get it within half an hour to 45 minutes of farming. This stance itself is pretty good, it's really fast, it's multi-hitting, it's a pretty good type stance, which is great for really applying those status procs to a target, as well as one of the combos being fantastic for forward movement, hitting everything in its path. It's definitely a great stance, lots of multi-hits, and it looks really flashy. It absolutely gets a thumbs up from me. Okay, so let's move on to starting to mod the Ninkondi. Now it doesn't actually come with any polarities on the weapon at all, however since we're using mostly the dual stats, it's not actually that much of a problem. And then it comes with a D polarity as the stance slot, but since it's only Atlantis Vulcan in there, there's not really a lot you can do with that anyway. So in terms of the actual build, I have 3 different sort of builds for the Ninkondi. This one is a viral radiation build, which I actually use and have found most effective against both the Grineer and the Corpus. I tried a magnetic and poison build against the Corpus, but I actually found the viral and radiation build way more effective if you're going for that pure status build. So as you can imagine, Atlantis Vulcan in the stance slot, pressure point for damage, fury for attack speed, and then the rest is basically elementals. We've got voltaic strike and volcanic edge, as well as molten impact, which is going to bring up radiation damage, and north wind and virulent scourge for viral damage, which gives us 98% status. Now it's not the 100% I was talking about earlier, but personally I found 98 to be more than enough, and dropping even more elemental for that 4th mod, I just didn't feel it was worth it. Now we've got a max rank life strike on here, which basically means you channel once, you get all your health back, job done. Don't have to worry about it again. Now the second build is the corrosive and heat build, which is for the void, so pressure point fury, voltaic strike, virulent scourge, and shocking touch and fever strike for that maximum corrosive damage, and volcanic edge for the extra heat damage, as well as that heat proc, which can be fairly useful. And then once again life strike. Now the final build is more of is if you're not actually using the weapon for its stance, you're using it just for a really quick stun to support your main weapons. So we go pressure point fury, and then we've got molten impact, we've got vicious frost, and we've got volcanic edge and north wind, all of which is going to bring up blast damage. Now this is going to obviously knock your enemies over, it's going to provide really good crowd control for very close range, as well as voltaic strike on here for the extra electricity plus the electric proc, which also stuns them. So you're either going to knock them down or you're going to stun them, which provides some fantastic close range crowd control for supporting your main two weapons, your primary and your secondary. And then once again, we've got Life Strike on here, just in case, if you really need to, you're low on health, you just equip your weapons, single channel, job done, back to your main weapons. So these are the 3 different builds I use for the Ninkondi. I find them very, very effective, and obviously this is pretty much what I would go for with this. So do I think the Ninkondi are worth the build cost, since you don't actually need any former to max this thing? And the answer is yes, I do. Look, these things are definitely not the most high level melee weapons. The damage they do, it's not great, especially once you lose a lot of elemental damage to boost that status chance. But what is more important is they're fun to use, they look great, they're flashy, and applying status proc after status proc is so satisfying. But more than that, mechanically they are something different within the melee weapon class. And this comes to where my sort of rant comes into being. The reason I haven't been doing melee weapons is very often I find melee pretty uninspiring. I really don't think that melee has enough variety. I don't think it has enough mechanically different weapons to each other. I really don't feel there is enough of a difference between weapons. So many melee weapons, they just feel like reskins of each other with a slightly flashier stance mod. And then the damage of the melee weapons often it's just not worth the risk. Melee can never compete with guns in Warframe in its current state. It's an unfortunate fact, but it's true nonetheless. With a rifle, take the Bratton Prime for example, you can hit them across the map with the same force as if you were 2 feet from them. However, with a melee weapon, you've got to cover all of that ground, then you've got to try and get in range, and then the damage you apply doesn't even come close to that of a mid-tier rifle. In fact, since the amazing damage buff to shotguns, even at close range, melee often isn't the best. It's not the best option anymore. Warframe does not properly reward closing the gap to the enemy, and then slicing and dicing with the damage it deserves. But as I said earlier, it's worse than that. So many melee weapons are just reskins of each other. There are so few mechanically interesting melee weapons. Compare primary weapons like the Ignis, the Glaceon, Buzzlock, even the Amprex. They might not be the best weapons in the world, but they're interesting weapons because they all play so very differently. The only real mechanically different melee weapons we have are the Glaives because of the ability to throw them, and now the Ninkondi with the status-based elemental weapons. Maybe that will change with charge attacks. Maybe charge attacks will be the saving grace for melee and the damage it puts out. But at the moment I just feel they're very, very uninspiring, and I don't want to put out half-hearted content to you guys because I'm not feeling inspired by that weapon. But with that out of the way, the Ninkondi, they are a lot of fun. They're one of the more interesting weapons and melee weapons to have been released in a long time. Definitely worth the time and resources to build, and you will have a decent amount of fun with it. Now, I know it's taken me a long time to review this, however, I hope I explained properly my reasons why I've taken so long. Now, this is only my opinion on melee. If you enjoy your melee, then don't think I'm saying you're bad for liking it, but it's not something that I personally enjoy very much. I just feel it's really, really uninspiring. But hey, each to their own, right? Everyone has their own playstyle, and that's what makes Warframe so different for so many people. As always guys, many thanks for watching, and I shall see you in the next video.